is a drug. Populism is a drug. But populism doesn't sound. Harmful or helpful. So the lesson is this. Forgive, we have to live. Yes, but we just can't forget. That's how it is, family. And it's important. It's important to understand. It's important to wake up and shake up and take up the spell of Leviathan. It's important to wake up from the spell of Kingu, to wake up and get knowledge of yourself. Know thyself first is the first lesson. It's important to wake up and realize that for 2,000 years, it's not just a European slavery, but it's a 2,000 year slavery, blessed family. It's a 2,000 year or more slavery. Because every nation and race of people that came into the African continent took out from Africa, never brought nothing in. None. We taught people architecture. We taught people astronomy. We taught them physics. We taught them mathematics. We taught them cosmology. We taught them everything, blessed. So why are we so stupid today? That's the question. Why can't you make a pair of underpants and we have a factory making underpants made in Africa? I'll buy some African underpants. Even toilet paper. Let's make some African toilet paper and have some toilet paper saying made in Africa. I'll buy some African toilet paper. Why can't we have an African car manufacturing company and the car is saying made in Africa? I'll buy an African car. Why can't you go and do what anybody and everybody else does? And that is copy what there is out there and refine it and make it better. The reason being, I'll tell you the reason because I don't tell you already. Or do you want to know? You don't want to know. Okay, you don't want to know, I won't tell you. But if you want to know, then just look inside yourself. Look deep within yourself. The reason you can't, the reason you don't want to, is purely because of the fact that you're caught in this spell. You're caught in this spell of Leviathan. You're caught in this spell of materialism. You're caught in this spell of individualism. You're caught in this spell of modern consumption. You're caught in this spell of not being a producer but being a consumer. You're caught in the spell of being an ignoramus, a dumb numpty. You don't believe in yourself. You look in the mirror and you don't see yourself. You see somebody else. You see a pale reflection of your former self, Africa. You don't see you. You don't see Africa. You see Arabia. You see the Muslim Peninsula. You see the Islamic Peninsula. You see the Islamic Rim in Africa. You don't see Africa. Africa's been divided. The scramble for Africa is not over. They're still scrambling for Africa today. Now we have China in Africa. Now we have the Judeans. We have the Judaism in Africa. Again still. Now we have the Europeans in Africa. Again still. Now we have the Americans in Africa. The Russians in Africa. Everybody in Africa. But what I said to you is it remains to be self-evident. It remains to be the case. Any and everybody that comes into Africa doesn't come into Africa with a view to leaving Africa better off than what it was before they came. They come there to extract from Africa your natural physical resources, your natural earth resources, your mental and your spiritual resources will be corrupted by virtue of you allowing them in. I heard one of my elders and teachers, a brother Baba John Henry Clark, state unequivocally that prior to the advent of the European and the mad Arabs in Africa, there was never a case of rape in Africa. Believe it, take it or leave it. Believe it or leave it alone. Prior to the advent of these mad cracker jacks and these mad Arabs coming into Africa, spreading their wickedness and their misery, there was never a case of pedophilia. There was never a case of exploitation. Never. Now, I don't have these romantic notions of a beautiful, harmonious Africa. I know that mankind is mankind. But mankind and humankind, two different kind of people. And that's the point. So it's not like we lay down and allow the invaders to come in without revolting, without confronting them, without revolutions and revolts. There have been massive revolts. Africans have revolted against the invaders for years. And if you check it, I remember way back in the day when I was at college studying, and we looked into the story of the theory of the scramble for Africa. We looked at the nature of the European man and compared him to the African man, and how Europeans today, like human beings, we compare ourselves to each and everybody. We look at somebody, we compare ourselves to them naturally. That's just what we do. You go into a room, you see somebody that looks like you say, oh, you compare them. Are they taller than you, prettier than you, fatter than you, shorter than you, whatever, richer than you, poorer than you, whatever. We just compare. It's just what we do as humans. We know that back in the day, the Europeans compared themselves against the Africans and saw themselves being far superior. Smoking their tobacco stolen from the Indians. Smoking their tobacco, which was one of the staple diets of slavery. Tobacco, sugar, and cotton, which are the three fundamental ingredients for what they call the Industrial Revolution. So we know who's responsible for the Industrial Revolution. So take what I'm saying in its proper and right and proper context. They take from us, but they never give back to us. That's the problem. They compared themselves to us and saw themselves to be far superior. Oh, of course we're superior. Yes, we are. We're superior because we enslave everybody. We're superior because we kill everybody. We got guns and we murder and we maim. And we cause misery and we rape and we pillage. And to the victor goes the spoils of war. To the victor goes the spoils. So of course they're superior. Is there one place in the face of the whole earth? Family. This is one of my elder Baba Aishaka Musa Barashango. His question. This is my personal teacher. My personal Baba. I can tell you about a whole lot of people that you read about, that you will talk about, that you will read about, you will see on TV, you will see on video, you will read about in your books if you even bother to read nowadays. I walked with these people, I walked with these elders, I walked with these scholars, I walked with these warriors. And they spent time with me, they gave me breath of life. We broke bread and we ate and we spoke and we chat and we have fun and we say, hey, this is the life. Now most of them are gone. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because ain't no time for playing this. This is what my teacher, the Reverend Dr. Professor Aishaka Musa Barashango said. He said, Brother Tunji, he said, look, humanity, tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there one place in the face of the whole earth where the European has been, where they have not caused complete destruction and eradication of the people that were there before they came? Is there one place in the face of the whole earth? If there's one place in the face of the earth, please inbox me. Please call me. Please text me. Please message me and let me know. Where is it? You're going to tell me, oh, it's the Outer Hebrides of northern Scotland. Yeah, great. Is there one place in the face of the earth where the Europeans have been, where they have not completely annihilated the indigenous people that were there before they came? Where? Look in Africa, any country in Africa. The people have been annihilated. Most tribes eradicated, just like the wildlife in Africa. And this is another contradiction that most Europeans have nowadays. They love animals, but they don't love Africans. They feel ashamed when animals are starving and dwindling in numbers. And they feel ashamed when animals are being done to cruelly. Cruelty to animals is something they all feel, oh, let's do something about cruelty to animals. And yet you fail to recognize and realize and give restitution or reparation or compensation for the fact that you've completely annihilated the natural stock of wildlife within the continent of Africa. Those old Europeans. I'm going to have to play that track by my brother. I'm going to play that track by my brother shortly when I can remember the brother's name. Those old Europeans. I'll play it for you shortly. But you completely decimated, more than decimated, because the term decimated means you took 1/10 of the population out. You took 1/10 of the number, hence deci for 10. Like December was the 10th month. Like a decibel is a 10. Like a decade is 10 years. So they decimated, more than decimated. They completely annihilated and made extinct whole species of wildlife in the African continent and throughout the earth. And in fact, well, they're still doing it today. We're still doing it today. We're all still responsible for that today. We can't just say, oh, it's the Europeans, oh, it's the Japanese, oh, it's the Chinese, oh, it's the Swedish, it's the Norwegians, it's the Scandinavians. They're doing it. They're responsible for the massacre of the dolphins and the massacre of the seals. And oh, it's the Japanese who are responsible for the slaughter wholesale of the whales. We can't just say that, because we're all responsible for it. That's what we fail to realize. But in terms of comparing yourself to others, if you compare yourself to others, forever you will become vain and bitter, because forever there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. But the point was this: you have these fat, pot-bellied, maniac European capitalists with their big pregnant style stomachs and their top hats and their cigars in their mouths, comparing themselves to this Numidian fighter, to this Nubian. And this Nubian's raw, pure living. This brother's like, you can feel his energy. You walk in a room, you can feel the brother's energy. And he saw himself to be superior. And I'm telling you this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was, throughout history, throughout the annals of history, there has never been a more fierce fighting force than a well-prepared and a well-armed Nubian army. There's no force in the earth that could face them without trepidation. There was no force in the face of the earth that could face them unequivocally on a level playing field. If you're going to say, well, the Europeans, we beat the Africans, they're not as good as us, we're the special forces. You give us the same training, you give us the same weapons. You give Africans the same training and the same weapons. You give Nubians the same. Look, yeah, I will tell you this. You go into parts of Africa today, Malcolm X done said it, I'll tell you again. You go into parts of Africa today, little children, the age of 6, 7, are going out. They're child soldiers. Because it's something that is there's no more fierce a fighting machine in the face of the whole earth than the cover of darkness and a dark man. I'll tell you that. In fact, way back in the day, there used to be Nubian sister warrior queens that would battle. And who do you think stopped the advance of this gay guy from Greece called Alexander the fake snake? It was a Nubian warrior princess. Bless. They sent him back and turned him into alcoholic. He got so depressed he couldn't get past these Nubians. Them send him back, go Europe and turn more chichi and turn more hedonistic and turn more sex with his friends and get drunk and drunk himself to death. And died through alcohol poisoning. So what I'm telling you is that the original African is a fierce warrior, is a fierce scholar, is a fierce teacher, is a fierce lecturer. And given a level playing field, they're the equal, if not the better than any other man in the face of the earth. I will say that. It's the equal, if not the better, because you don't want to take my word for it. Look at it yourself. Look at the greatest, just even athletes in the world, even the long distance runners, the people with the most stamina, the Ethiopians, the Kenyans, the people with the most fastest speed, the Americans, the Jamaicans, the people with the most ferocious fighting skills. It's Africans and African Americans and African Caribbeans. Well, you're going to say, well, that's because we took them into slavery and we bred them like proper eugenicists and genetical scientists. We bred them into fighting force. But I say, that's just poppycock and piffle. Look, family, it's not about one being more ferocious or one being more superior than the other. Humans are humans, and at the end of the day, that's the way it is, and that's reality. And to think otherwise is nothing but insanity. But in history, the annals of history, the Africans were so they were so glorified, they were so legendary that they were even they were deified even. They were made into gods, they were made into demigods with the prowess, the physical battle prowess of these Africans. Don't forget, you used to have this thing in the Greco-Roman amphitheaters of gladiators. And here you would have many Africans who were fought their way into freedom. But again, once you go into the realm of being a demigod or a semigod or into the realm of legend, many people say, well, their physical prowess came from the aliens, and they weren't really real, they weren't really human beings. And I'll say, you know what? That's just more piffle. So, because the European thinks they're superior, you thought that you had it made. So you went away into the stillness of night. You devised a plan to undermine the African. You devised a dastardly plan, a wickedly wise plan, a very cunning plan, a plan that would be 500 years in the making and 1500 years in its manifestation. So wickedly wise was their plan. Some of the Nation of Islam call the plan tricknology. Others call it what it is, reality. Or the spell of Kingu. So wickedly wise was their plan. Now they still have you, African, in the palms of their hands to this very day. Bless the family, bless, bless. Yes, humanity. You know what? That track there, I hope you enjoyed it. Maccabee invasion. Those old Europeans were wickedly wise, very clever man. When they came to invade, they didn't come with 1 and 10, they came with thousands. And they took jiggers out. They took suckers out. They didn't take no risk. Took you out. So then, is there any wonder? Is there any wonder that we are where we are today? You know, what I wanted to do, I'm going to do it right now because I felt an urge. I brought these here coins, if you can just get the camera on that. This is a silver, I believe it's a Canadian maple leaf. It's a 1 ounce silver coin. I brought a few of them, if you can hear that. I brought a few of these coins in. Now, in these tumultuous times, in times of uncertainty, a lot of people fling their money in the bank or try and save their little ends, and they don't really see any returns on their ends. I'm not a black capitalist, but I'll tell you this. If you buy a silver ounce coin, I bought these maple leaf coins, I think a couple of years ago, and they are quite beautiful. They're quite beautiful to look at and quite beautiful to handle. If you buy these coins, these are 1 ounce of 0.999 fine silver. And an ounce coin, a silver ounce coin, is somewhere, I don't know, in the region of 15 to 20 pounds for one coin. If you buy these coins, you can then put those coins down. Put them in a safety security deposit box if you want. Put them in a safe, put them anywhere. Hide them in the garden, bury them. And then you can come back to them in a year or 5 years. And you will find that your investment in these coins has increased in value. So from the initial £15 per silver ounce that you paid, in 5 years' time, they will be worth perhaps £22 or perhaps even £30 per ounce. And as we are in these times of mixed economic blessings and confusion and chaos and currencies and derivatives and chaos and confusion in the markets, I would say if you need to invest, if you want to invest in something, rather than leaving your money in the bank and earning a negative equity, get yourself some silver coins, family, or even gold if you can afford it. I can't afford that much gold. That's why I'm buying silver, because it's beautiful and I can afford some of it. Buy some silver, invest in it, and you won't be sorry for doing that. Alternatively, if you want to invest in a cryptocurrency, get some Bitcoin, get some Litecoin, get some cryptocurrencies, because soon money's going to be dead. They're coming with their New World Order, family. They're coming with their New World Plan. And even maybe precious metals, gold and silver, might be dead soon as well. Who knows? The new economic paradigm for the future, it's going to be something which either we create it as people, or they're going to create it as rulers and as puppet masters. So it's about striking the balance. It's about claiming the domain. It's about claiming the here and the now. We seem to be in a state of hallucination. We seem to be in a perpetual state of sleep. It seems that we're still not woken up from this spell of Kingu. We're still caught in the spell. We're still caught in the rut. We're still caught and we're caught. We've been had, we've been took, we've been shook. And we're still there, caught in this rut, family. So human beings, if there's a way for you to get an ounce of silver, buy an ounce of silver or more. And save it, hold on to it for the future. That's my advice for you. And the question that brother, sister asked me was, how can we define a right and proper future for our people? How can we be free as a people? How can we utilize our economic resources in Africa without becoming black maniacs, without becoming black capitalists, without becoming black exploiters of other black people? And is there a problem with capitalism? Or is there an alternative system? There is an alternative system. There's nothing new in the face of the earth. My teacher, brother, scholar, warrior, Dr. John Henry Clark Jr. will tell you if you listen, if you look in his books. I remember doing some work with this brother a few years back. Beautiful brother, blue black skin. Brother was blind in the sight. Had no sight, walked with a white cane. And I held the doors open for the elder scholar. Said, come Baba. He said, Brother Tunji, you know, I might not have eyes, but I can see more than you. I was like, raw, this brother's not easy, you know. So don't think that just because man's is kicking the academic ballistic, just don't think that just because man's is kicking the academic realities and the academic theologies that man is not easy, that man is easy, that man is some fluff, that man is some tush. It's not. The man is some easy pushover. It's not. Man is scholar warrior. Man's is coming hardcore, raw, pure from the streets. And he deals with everybody the same, whoever he meets. It's no joke things. Brother scholar warrior said, Brother John Henry Clark said, you know, the further back you go, the closer you will get to the source, the closer you will get to the reality. The Europeans adopted a system of communism and capitalism, which are basically derived. They're corrupted, but they are derived from an African system of economic wealth and economic distribution. I've been calling out for weeks now for the African academics, for the African so-called intelligentsia of contemporary society, whether in the United Kingdoms or at home in Mother, Father Africa, or in America, to devise for Africans and black people around the world a modern day black economy, a modern day black culture, a modern day black nation state, a modern day black language, boundaries, language, and culture, and knowledge. So, from the time the call and the cry is out there, surely somebody must answer the cry. Somebody must answer the call. Because right now, we are still caught in the spell of Kingu. This next track here I'm going to play for you is a track by a beautiful sister called Nina Simone. And the track is entitled, I put a spell on you.
Put a spell on you. Cause you're mine, yeah. I don't like the things you do. I ain't lying. I put a spell on you. I can't stand it, you run around, Daddy. You know better now. I can't stand it when you put me down. So I went to Alabama and I got me some mojo dust and I put a spell on you. Ah, and it's so mine, and it's so mine, and so many. You love me, it's so, and it's so, and it's so. Because you're mine. 'Cause you're mine. You better stop the things you do.
Blessed family, bless. Look,
I ain't lying.
it's no joke things. It's a real thing. You see, the situation we're living in, family, we are in a spell of Kingu. And that sister there, beautiful sister Nina Simone, she's full of attitude. She's full of, platitude. She's full of the real stuff. You know, when you see her sing, when you see her move, you'll know that, this sister's not easy. She can put a hex upon you if she wants. She's got that raw, pure, black juju. And if we want to put a hex on these people, we can put a hex on these people. If we want to put a spell on these people, we can put a spell on these people. If we want sus upon them, we can sus upon them. If we want to put juju upon you, we can put juju upon you. If we want to work Obi upon you, we can work Obi upon you. If we want to bust science upon you, we can bust science upon you. You know, that's the real, but that's not our culture. That's not our life. That's not our constitution. That's not our, that's not our condition. That's not our reality. That's not what we reflect. I told you from the get-go in the show, the African culture, they don't need a book to tell them how to walk. They don't need to say, here is a house of God, when they are living with God in their walk and their talk and their family in every single day reality. We don't need somebody to come from the outside and tell us how to live when we're living with balance, reciprocity, justice and peace and honor and order amongst us. It's only when an invader comes from the outside and spreads disorder and dishonor and disharmony and disunity, that's when we need to be reminded. And when we believe these invaders, when their invading theologies pervade our everyday today for years and hundreds of years and centuries, and we get lulled into a false sense of security. We get lulled into a false sense of who we are. When we get lulled into sleep, that's when we need to be woken up. That's when we need a slap in the face. That's when we need to be woken. That's when we need to smell the coffee. Wake up. Like Brother Malcolm X told you, by any and all means necessary. But even Brother Malcolm X told you at the end of the day, you know what? If you're a white person and you're in the struggle, and you're going through the same struggles that we're going through, and you're waking up to your reality, the reality. There's only one reality, It's not pin the tail on a donkey. It's call a spade and a what? There's only one reality. So Malcolm X said it. If you're going through the same thing that we're going through, then we can unite in solidarity. We can unite in comradeship and fight against the oppressors together. But the problem is, here's the problem, family. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong. Just like there has never been one place in the face and the space of the whole earth where the European has been, where they have not caused complete and utter destruction to the indigenous people that were there before they came. There's not been one place in the face of the earth. If there is, name me, correct me. There's not been one place in the face of the whole earth where the indigenous people have not been destroyed by the Europeans. The same problem is that when we come together in unity, it seems to be right now that we do so at our own peril. So we have to forgive, we have to live, but we just can't forget. So how do we break this cycle of self-deprecation, this cycle of madness? We've got to wake up from the spell of Leviathan. We've got to wake up from the spell of Kingu. This is the reality. If you don't believe me, what I'm telling you is that everybody that's been into Africa is taken out from Africa, not put into Africa. Europeans, they were the latest case. So that's why a lot of people tend to focus on them. European Americans tend to focus on them. But I'm saying, don't forget that Arab slavery was the teacher, was the master, was the principle behind European slavery. And Europeans and Arabs worked together. Historically, genetically, they worked together to undermine the Africans. Blatantly. If you read Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization, Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization, you will see what I'm saying to be held self-evident. So then, let's look down to today. I started telling you stories about the museums of mankind. If you look into any museums, if you look into your refrigerator, go to your refrigerator at home, look at the food in your refrigerator. Look into your freezer. Look at your freezers full of food stuffed from Africa, from Asia. Look into your refrigerator, it's stuffed full of seeds and sapling. Look at the refrigerators of the academics in Europe, in America. It's full of saplings and seedlings taken from Africa. Look into their laboratories, you will see they have millions and thousands of samples of DNA and genetic material from Africans, from Asians. They have thousands of jars full of genetic specimens. They have thousands of DNA material from all areas of biology, anatomy, zoology, and botany. The museums are laden with thousands and thousands of artifacts stolen away from Africa. Look at the Stolen Legacy. Get the book, Stolen Legacy. The Stolen Legacy. This stolen legacy is laid bare before your eyes, before your viewing pleasure. Just take a look in a supermarket in Europe, in America. Just take a look at the supermarket. You got everything. All from every side of the world. But you go to where these things come from, and the people them have next to nothing. Now there's a certain disconnect there. Go to a museum. If you're ever in London, go to the Museum of Mankind, and there in the Museum of Mankind, they will show you what kind of man. They will show you what kind of man raped and pillaged and murdered and overthrew generation after generation of the original human beings, not mankind, but human beings. Rape, pillage, murder, all in the name of capital exploitation, all in the name of great Grand Britannica, all in the name of rule Britannia. We shall never ever be slaves, but we shall rule the waves. All in the name of a kind and a God Savior deity, all in the name of progress and technology, all in the name of advancement. I ask you, what kind of man is this that will go around the globe and destroy and maim and kill and murder and enslave? What kind of man is this that allows this to continue unchecked for a year, yet alone a decade, yet alone a century, yet alone a millennium, yet alone an era, yet alone an age of ages? What kind of men, what kind of people are we to see this continuing to this very day, to see capitalist exploitation in the face of the earth, and we don't do nothing about it? We say, you know what, it's not us, it's him. It's our elected representatives that are pushing this foreign policy on these underdeveloped nations, and we're not held accountable for it. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are culpable. I am culpable. We are culpable. Whether you like it or you don't like it. It might not sound nice, but if you're living in one of these so-called third worlds countries, if you're living in one of these economies, if you're living in one of these societies, believe me when I tell you, the stench that you wake up to in the morning reminds you that it's real. It's not nice when all you have to eat for the day is a handful of rice. And yet go to your fridge, go to your refrigerator, go to your larder, go to your pantry, go to your supermarket, and you have everything. And yet you don't give a fluff about anybody else. What is this? And you want to tell me you're not held accountable? You shall be held accountable. What kind of man is this that allows the untold masterful misery and wickedly wise debauchery and grand theft of human equality? What kind of people are we to let this continue? Where's your dignity, humanity? Where's your dignity, humankind? Where's your dignity, woman? Where's your dignity, man? Where's it gone? You leave this madness. We leave this madness to go on unchecked, unstopped and unthwarted. What kind of man allows this to happen? Look into the catacombs of the Vatican. There's stuff full of the technology and the anthropology and the knowledge of ancient Africa. Look into the catacombs of the Vatican. You'll see there's stuff full of gold, of diamonds and pearls, of precious objects from the ancient world. Look in Buckingham Palace. Look into the... Oh my goodness. They have all the wealth of the world there. And yet, the artifacts that were stolen away from Africa, from Asia, you think that it's okay? And we don't forget that it was the Persians who started the pursuit of the African and enslavement. It was the marauding mad Arabs who brought it, who started it. Don't forget there was, oh man, I want to name some names for you. If not today, because the time's flying, it's soon for me to break north and break south, then I'll come back next week and tell you about the revolt of the Negus. I'll tell you about these ancient emperors of Persia who had 10,000 units. I'm going to tell you right now, in fact, because I'm getting upset just thinking about it, because it's real. We think that the Europeans were the wickedly wise ones, that they were the wicked slave masters. Yeah, they were, but they were taught by even wickeder, more menacing beings. We believe that European slavery started in the year 1411 and ended in the year 1887, or ended in the year 1930. And yet the Arab slavery started around about the year 37 AD. 2,000 years later, or nearly 2,000 years later, and it still happens today. Child sexual slavery in Saudi Arabia is a reality. Don't believe me, Google it, find it for yourself. If I'm wrong, come back and tell me say I'm wrong, and I will eat my hat and my words. Slavery today, slavery in Mauritania. wasn't abolished until, I believe, the year was 1976. Modern day slavery still exists, family. Still exists. The Arab slavery of the Africans was far, far worse than the European slavery. And the Arabs taught the Europeans. In fact, it was the Portuguese and the Spanish who learnt from who were acting as conduits, who were acting as middlemen for the Arabs, who went to the Pope and said, hey Pope, we want to have your blessing. We want to have your blessing in this commercial endeavor. And the Pope said, okay, by papal decree in the year 1411, that the African, these Negroes, are not to be considered humans. They are without soul. And because they are without soul, then it's okay for you to enslave them. Now I ask you this, Africans at home and abroad. I ask you this, human beings at home and abroad, wherever you are in the face of the space of the whole earth. Do you believe that Africans don't have souls? And I know that there are a vast number of people that do believe that. Black people, some black people believe that they're black because they're cursed, because they have no soul. Some white people believe that blacks are black because they're cursed. We are still in the spell of Kingu. What kind of man allows this war to continue unabated? Go to any European capital city. Go to the catacombs of King Leopold's castles in Belgium. And you will see the massive amounts of silver and gold that was stolen from Africa. Nothing's been given back. Go into the castles of London, of Paris, of London, of France, of anywhere in Europe, and you will see that they've built their empire off the back of African exploitation. Nothing's been given back. I remember when I was a child, 20, 30, 100 years ago, we thought that when we were older, there will come a time when the Europeans would pay back everything that they've stolen. We had that hope. But then it's like saying today that we, people in contemporary society, need to pay the Syrians for all the damages that have been done to their country by our country's armament sales. It's the same. And I'm asking you this, for real, are you prepared to give up your Sony Nintendo, to give up your Xbox, to give up your PlayStation, to give up your B-Sky B satellite subscription to go and feed some Syrians? No, you are not. I'll answer the question for you. If you are, then bless. Let's do that. Don't nod your head. Don't say yes, you're willing to do it and you're not going to make it manifest. Do it. But it's the same equation. Are we asking these Europeans today, are we asking people today to pay for the sins of their... In that track by Maccabee, he said how they came over, how a civilized, them call themselves civilized. They came over, they killed African elephant, lion and tiger, and chopped their heads up and put their heads in a room for decoration. Now this practice of killing animals is called murder, it's called hunting. And the practice of stuffing the animals and putting them in a room for decoration, the art, or the so-called art, scientific art, is called taxidermy. Taxidermists were the people that took these heads. Thousands and millions of animals were taken, murdered in Africa to be hung in European halls, to be hung in European rooms, living rooms. Thousands. Now, excuse me, now the world has nearly been laid bare of the majority of its wildlife. And what are we going to do about it? Moan, joke. Just like you Africans, the elephants are nearly gone. The lions and the tigers have nearly been eradicated. The bears have finished. The gazelle are diminished. And yet you look on your necks, you look on your ring, you look on your necks and your fingers. We have gold rings, gold chains, diamond rings for your weddings. You're adorned with the gold which has been extracted from Mother, Father Africa, under exploitation, under child slavery. The phone that you have, the technologies which we have, the iPhone, the lap phone, the tablets, laptops, smart TVs, all the technology which we have today, it could not be made possible if it was not for the child slavery of our youngsters in Congo. So if we're not prepared to even address that issue, how the hell do you want to address something as complex as reparation, restitution, and remuneration? Look, stop your noise. Don't make noise. Because you're not doing anything about the realities which face us here and now. So why you want to talk about yesterday for? I'm giving you yesterday. Because if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. I know where we are. What I'm telling you, Africans, what I'm telling you, humans, is that yes, everything that has been bestowed upon modern society is to do with history, is to do with yesterday. Modern day cities are organized within the principles of the ancient cities. Architecture, astronomy, anatomy, art, chemistry, everything came from the elders. The difference between what I think the basic difference between the Africans and the Europeans is that Africans have always been hospitable to strangers. But the problem has been, bless, that the strangers that we've been hospitable to have been the wrong kind of strangers. You know, they've been the strangers that you bring into your house and they kill you while you're asleep. They murder you and rape you and do you some harm whilst you sleep. This track here, fella, Akilo Pokote, beast of no nation. Bless it. Bless her family. You know what it is? Time is running, time is coming. It's like this. I've got to run it to you I've got to drop it to you like this. Family, understand. This is Beast of No Nation. This is African Anthony Olatunji upon a Wednesday evening. Beast of No Nation, Fela Kuti. I need to interrupt the track purely because of the fact that I've got so many things to run by you. So much things to tell you. So much things to say. But the time is running. And we're entering nearly into the 4th hour now. We're way past 3 hours. And my voice is starting to get a little bit tickly and coarse and raw. So it's time for me to break out and break north and break south real soon. But before I go, I need to answer a couple of the questions. Or even ask further the same questions. What kind of people, what kind of humanity is going to steal natural resources from the earth and use these resources just for the benefit of themselves rather than for the benefit of humanity? What kind of people is this that will do that? I need to ask you the question. Be I black, be I brown, be I white, be I yellow? Am I not a man and a brother? I need to ask the question to European Americans and to European Australians, because many of these Europeans in Australia and many of these Europeans in America believe that Australia and many of these Europeans in Africa believe that Africa is their home. They believe it's their home, but in their homeland, they treat Africans who were born in their homeland as aliens, as foreigners, as illegals. In America, I've already outlined for you this evening that the Mexicans succeeded states of their land to the southern states of America 150 years ago, i.e. the land was stolen by the American government, by the white South in America. They had their land stolen off them. And now today, in modern day society, they're called illegal aliens when they want to go back to their homelands. It's a contradiction. It's a joke. It's an imbalance. Many whites in Australia believe that Australia is their homeland. And yet they pay no homage. They give no respect to the people that were there indigenous before they came. The self-same is said of Africa, in South Africa, in what used to be called Rhodesia, after Cecil Rhodes, which is now called Zimbabwe, with Mugabe, who's bringing back the land for the people there. The Europeans believe that Africa is their home. They went to Africa and saw large areas of land which was not occupied. So they said, look, this land here is spare. We're going to take it. We're going to claim it. It's our land. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they did this. The Dutch, the Boers, the Europeans, the Portuguese, the French, the British, the Germans, they all did this. It's not my idea, it's fact. They claimed it to be their own. That's like me or anybody from Africa or Asia coming to Europe and saying, look, you see all this farmland over here is not being used. So we're going to claim that to be our own. How ridiculous is that? And just because you've got a statute or a legislation in place to say it belongs to somebody and you have a deed, that means you have more ownership over that land than what the families of that land who own the land in Africa or Asia have over their land, or in America have over their land, or the Aborigines in Australia have over their land. You think that European law, maritime law, is more powerful, has more efficacy than any traditional, tribal, native, cultural laws, than God's law. This man with a cold heart, who comes from a cold place, has left an indelible mark on the world. Some would even call it the mark of Cain. I, my family, will call it the mark of the insane. Some would even argue that they somehow implanted a new gene within the collective mind, within the collective consciousness of humanity. They've implanted a new gene within the collective gene pool of humanity. And now, instead of being humans, we're all like a kind of man. We're no longer humans, but we're mankind. Now our DNA has a pair of chromosomes that has a chromosome, a DNA with greed and treachery entwined in the double helix, integrated and woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness. Our DNA now has a pair of chromosomes that has greed and treachery entwined in the double helix and integrally woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness. The question for today is, what is the duty of a civilized people? What is the duty of a civilized man? And I think I've outlined it to you, because anytime any uncivilized will come into Africa in the days of old, in the days of old, then the Africans will teach the uncivilized. I'm not the harborer of any fantastic idea. No stupid ideas of religion, or no silly theories, or no silly religions. I'm just telling you common sense as it appears to me to be. I don't want to give you any wrong ideas or false fallacy or false. I don't want to give you any false prophets or false gods to chase. I don't want to say, chase this guy, he's your savior. But Africans want to do that. They want to chase this one, he's your savior. But you take a slave name, but you take a slave brain. It's like you're engaged in this battle, this quantum entanglement. You're engaged in this battle of eternal struggle for sanity. Family, it's nearly time for me to go. I'm going to play you little something before I go. And it's a little story. It's quite interesting. It's from an instrumental track from Burning Spear, and it's taken from my song. So here's some of this. Take it or leave it alone.
I be the one they love, I be the don. They know where I'm from. 01 to the 21. Yo, brethren, where is your hairline gone? I can't believe it. I can't believe the cheek. Some girls wake up and don't even brush their teeth. That's a dead thing. That's a bad breath take.